Thank you, Sean, very much indeed. I think maybe we had 2 lighthouse families there, but maybe that's not a bad thing, because we're heading into the world of the ocean, into the world of the sea, to sub-aqua activity underneath the ocean. With me, David Hankin and Peter Graham from the Newry and Mourne Sub-Aqua Club. Part of the BSAC organisation, yes?
That's
the
right,
British,
Ron,
the
yeah,
British Sub-Aqua Club, yeah. One of the great diving clubs of the world, Peter, or David. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. We've been going now 40 years.
40 years. I remember the first day, believe it or not.
You were in the club the
I
first
was there
day,
the
that's right.
first day.
So
there was one before it. It was called the St Anthony's Sub-Aqua Club in Newry, formed in Mary Street by Pat Hand in those days. Then, of course, Jimmy came in. Jimmy Lyons came in very early on as well, and it was all good then. But it's gone very, very professional now. You no longer make your own suit.
no, we don't make our own suit. Although to look at some of them, you think maybe they did.
Yeah.
But no, we don't make our own suits. The equipment has moved on probably quite a bit since then.
Yeah.
Although fundamentally, the actual apparatus that we use is
It's the same.
not much difference.
A demand valve, but
right.
the thing you're breathing is mixed gases, which makes a
Well, it
difference.
depends on the kind of diving you're doing, of course. You tend not for stuff sub 40-45 meters, you tend not to bother with mixed gases other than oxygen enriched air, which is nitrox, which we use to
45 meters would in my day have been deep. That was a deep dive. It wouldn't have been. How far would you? This is the question we were always asked. How far can you go down? How long can you stay? Peter, you still get that?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you can go down for as long and as deep as you want, really.
Depends how long you want to spend coming up.
How long you want to spend coming up. I mean, we have divers in our club have been to 130 meters, which is a 5-hour dive.
Wow.
And then generally we dive around the 40-meter mark.
Yeah.
We have a range of divers. Some dive on single tanks and they're limited to about 35 meters. Some dive on double tanks, twin sets.
Yeah.
And then we also have 11 divers in the club that have rebreather units, which are virtually unlimitless in terms of the amount of air supply they have.
Yeah, when you're saying rebreather, we didn't have the rebreathers to any extent. It'll frighten you when you hear of some of the things we did, but in terms of the equipment. But a rebreather is you're maintaining yourself beneath the water indefinitely almost, as a consequence of a circulation of a finite reservoir of breathing material. Yes?
That's right. Well, you have basically got 2 small cylinders, one with oxygen and one with air or some other dilution gas.
Yeah.
And basically you breathe in and out through your lungs, and every time you breathe you use 4% oxygen. So all this machine does, it basically mixes the gas again and adds 4% oxygen to allow you to continue to breathe. So you use very small volumes, and there's a scrubber in the middle of the back, and that scrubs the carbon dioxide out of the air, because when you breathe out carbon dioxide, and that would make you unconscious if you didn't get it out of the air. So the scrubber just takes the carbon dioxide out and replaces it with oxygen.
You still have the decompression stops.
You still have the decompression, but you have less, because you also tailor the oxygen to as much oxygen as your body can take, which means you absorb less nitrogen, and in that way you actually have less decompression to do.
Yeah.
Like, for example, we could be at 40 meters for 30 minutes, whereas on ordinary air you'd maybe have 9 minutes before you'd have decompression. Like, so it really
David, when did all of this start for you?
Well, many years. I always enjoyed swimming and snorkeling, and every year for decades it seemed. When I was abroad, I'd see divers going into the water, and I was getting a glimpse of what they were seeing just by doing some snorkeling close inshore. And every year I used to say, I've definitely got to learn to scuba dive.
Yeah.
So eventually, about 6 years ago, I just took the plunge, and it's only 6 years, so it's a blink of an eye really compared to some of the guys in the club. But so we had the club had a bit of an advertising driver,
So you
recruitment
joined
drive
at
at that
that
time. So I
time.
joined at that time.
And it's a fallacy to believe that you need to go to the Mediterranean to get good diving. There, you know, the visibility and the flora and fauna under the ocean, up around off Malin Head, Tory Island, and it's second to none.
Phenomenal. It absolutely
Phenomenal.
is.
Yeah.
And even closer to home, you know, people don't realise, I didn't realise until I joined the club, I thought that diving around Ireland, the waters are going to be filthy dirty, it's going to be nothing to see, it's just going to be muddy. But no, first shore dive or open water dive that I did with the club was in Strangford Lough. And I remember my exact thoughts at the time were, it's just like a garden down here, and that's what it was. There was that much marine life, plant
The kelp
and
forests.
fish life. And there was not a whole lot of kelp in Strangford, but there's lots and lots of
Around the Mourne coast. I seem to remember huge amount of kelp down off Maggie's Leap, down Bloody Bridge area, a lot of it there.
Yeah,
Where was
big.
this? Where were you there?
That's the HMS Stubborn, which is a British submarine that was sunk in 1946. Had various problems with it, off Malta,
Yeah.
and that's there was a few of us went out to. A couple of people were going out to celebrate somebody's birthday, and we ended up about 15 of
Yeah.
us going out. So that's the bow,
Yeah.
and the torpedo tubes are here on either side, and that's us swimming up from the bow to the stern.
Yeah.
HMS Stubborn. That's in about 55 meters.
Wow.
But you can see how clear the waters are there.
Yeah, very
Um,
much so,
that's
yeah.
the
But
sunlight.
they're equally clean off Malin Head, for goodness sake.
Oh,
That's what
Malin
we're
Head,
saying.
you get similar
Yeah.
of it. And
Yeah.
that's, as I was going to say, some of the diving around Ireland is simply world class.
Yeah,
We have some fantastic wrecks from both world wars.
yeah,
Off Malin Head,
absolutely.
the Audacious, a dreadnought battleship,
Yeah.
which is absolutely fantastic.
I see these are Peter McCamley.
Peter McCamley took
we're
these
okay.
photographs.
We're okay with copyright on that, are we?
Yeah, I'm sure Peter won't mind us using them.
Yeah.
I had meant to ring him last night.
Yeah.
and
Well,
ask for
it's
permission,
in the good. It's to promote the interest
but
of the
Peter's
club.
our diving officer this
Ah,
year,
well,
so
yeah, yeah.
I'm sure he won't
Do you know
mind.
something? I often, in my life, I don't know if this resonates with either of you, and this is bringing it home to me. In my life, I was always better, maybe not better, but I was always able to walk alone, to be of independent gait and to be of independent mind. Maybe this is where it's come from, because when you're down there, this is the ultimate independence.
That's right.
You're alone, you've got to sort your problems out. You have the buddy system, of course.
Yeah.
Does it still happen?
It does. You want to answer that?
Yeah.
Yes, well,
Peter?
you do. You have to be able to sort yourself out, but that's your first port of call, is sort your own problems out, and then if you can't, then you look towards your buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, we are supposed to dive within arm's reach of each other in buddy pairs. What we're doing there's 4 of us in a technical dive, and we're in helium is part of our gas and that, and we're in 2 buddy pairs there. But you can see how close we are, and that's important in that type of diving. We also carry quite a lot of gas, so if one guy has a problem, if you look at all the cylinders around,
Yeah, there's
plenty
spare
of
bottles there.
and we've been trained to share the gas. You know, you can take a
You can
clip a
take the
stage
command
off.
valve off,
Yes.
and then even what people don't commonly understand is that if you lost your mask, and you wouldn't with the new masks
Yes.
nowadays,
Yes.
but in the old, the mask can come off, and you're trained actually
Yes.
to put it back on again.
You
Yeah,
are, and you
and
actually,
empty it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you carry a spare mask as well in your
Yeah.
pocket just to.
So the equipment from the days when we would have gone to Derek Jackson in Belfast and bought sheets of neoprene and stuck them and stitched them together to make the suits.
Yeah.
The equipment is, and with the tanks, we used to get oxygen tanks out of the breweries where
Right.
they had the gas for and we converted those into, for goodness sake. But the equipment nowadays must be state of the art.
It is, and the price tends to go with it as well.
Yeah.
It does become expensive when you get into technical diving, particularly. But you can still begin to dive on a fairly, modest kind of price range. Really, I mean, you don't have to
Yeah.
spend that much.
But does modest price range mean lesser equipment and increased risk?
No. What it means is that you have enough equipment for the kind of diving that you will be doing at that stage in your diving career. So when you join, if someone were to join the club, never having scuba dived before at that point, they would undergo an ocean diver training course. On completion of that, they would be qualified to dive to 20 meters. The reason that 20-meter limit is imposed is because that's deemed by BSAC and other agencies to be a safe depth
Yeah,
from
60
which you can
feet or
ascend
thereabouts,
quickly
yeah, yeah.
if you lose control of your buoyancy, which is a major problem. Not a major problem, but it's an issue that is probably the longest thing to get to grips with as a new diver, is controlling your buoyancy.
Yeah.
So they impose that 20-meter limit so that there's less risk involved. Everybody is taken through the training stage there's a 6 weeks period of theory and practical training, and nobody's taken out into the open water until they're fully comfortable with doing it.
It's been my experience, I don't know whether this makes any sense to you, that the danger point in a dive, or as near as you come to a danger point, isn't when you're here. It's when you're on the surface. Maybe you've come to the surface down current and downwind of your boat, and you're in a situation, certainly we would have been in situations where it put pressure on us to actually remain easily afloat and in a peaceful situation with all the kit and all the rest of it. Unless you're very, very fit at that point, you can cause yourself discomfiture.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very important, and we do have this. It's very important that we have a good person in control of the boat, the service cover, so that anybody comes to the surface ahead of the expected time, that the boat cover is able to spot them and to lift them, get them into the boat safely before that. But generally, particularly with dry suits, they are very buoyant. Once you have filled them with air, so you can remain on the surface quite a lot. We all have radios now as well, so if we're doing any deeper dives, we can radio the boat.
Yeah, but radio doesn't operate under the water, of course. No,
but once you're on the surface,
hello boat, I'm here.
Like your example, if you had been
blown
downwind and
or GPS,
and the wind is against you, coming from the boat to you, so they're not going to hear you shout.
No.
So you can use the radio on the surface to call the boat and direct them to you.
What, Peter, has been for you the moment of wow in your diving career, that you've come across something that really stops you in your tracks, and you look and you say, my God, this is uncanny, this is amazing?
Well, I suppose there's been several. I wouldn't say there's been one. I mean, there's usually at least one a year outstanding dives, and I think the first time we done the Empire Heritage really nailed it for me.
We should tell people what you mean. Yeah, that's a dive on the Emperor Heritage.
Yes, sorry,
that's what he means by having done. Yeah,
basically, there's actually a photograph of that here if you want to cycle through.
Yep.
There's back in the First World War or Second World War, one of the Atlantic convoys, the Empire Heritage was carrying Sherman tanks and half tracks across to the Normandy front.
Wow.
And it hit a landmine and sank. And the seabed is scattered with Sherman tanks sitting in 65 metres of water.
Where is this exactly?
It's off Malin Head, about 15 miles off the coast.
My goodness.
And you drop down. At one point there's a stack of Sherman tanks, like a pyramid, sitting from the bed, and some of the turrets are open and you can look down into them, and it's just fantastic. You can see how clear the water quality is there.
Absolutely.
And the fish life are
amazing.
Amazing.
Would you have conger eel there? Would you?
Conger eel, cod, ling, pollock, massive lobsters.
Yeah. Do I see that you still use the shot line principle?
Oh yeah, so
down to
shot
the
line.
You fix a line onto it, so you're not searching. You come straight down the shot line.
You come straight down it. We have very good sonar, and we generally would be able to pick out a particular point on the hull, and then we drop our shot in there. It's very important for these depths. We really want to get back to our shot as well. We tend to ensure that we get back to where the shot went in, because we have to come up and do a lot of decompression.
Yeah.
So we want to stay on the shot. Line. Well, with a trapeze, which is basically like a circus trapeze, bars and ropes.
You can take it
and
easy.
You can hang on that and rest. And
resting's one thing, boredom's another thing. And cold, well, you don't get cold anymore because you have the...
Well, it depends. Sometimes if you're there for a long time, you can get cold. But the important thing is that, as Peter suggested, from this depth, you may well have a lot of decompression to do. And you don't want to be hanging free in the water, at 6 or 9 or 12 metres for an hour and a half, because God knows where you'll end up, and the boat may lose you.
Oh yeah.
So if you're on the shot line on the trapeze, which can then be detached, so if there's a run on the water, the trapeze will go with the run.
Yes.
and there's two buoys on the surface, and the boatman will just follow the
Follow the
follow
buoy
that, and then
on the
in
top, and
whatever
he
time you
gets-
do,
he
you
gets
do when
there.
you come up.
You mentioned the turret's been half opened. Of course, you have the inquisitive nature to go down in.
No, no.
But when you do, you look around and you see
Yeah.
the suspended dust and
Yeah.
mud and whatever.
The turret, they're actually too small. It's surprising
couldn't
how
get through.
small a Sherman tank is.
Yeah.
Really?
They're nearly like Tonka toys. I'm
Really?
sure.
Yeah.
The size of a saloon car,
I'm sure
Really?
Is it,
They're that small?
is it the battle?
not much bigger.
The Battle of Bulger Dirty Dozen. One of the movies that the Sherman tank faces a Tiger tank,
Wow.
and the fear in Donald Sutherland's eyes when he seen it. I can understand it because
Yeah.
they
It's
are
this
tiny,
little thing.
and the Tiger
Yeah.
tank was massive.
So what about the club at the moment, lads? How strong are you? Many people have you?
Currently 26 members, I believe.
Diving every weekend?
Oh, not 26 diving at the minute. Probably have 15 regular divers.
Yeah.
Currently go out, and they don't go out every week. So normally each week we would have 8, possibly 10 divers, and we dive every Sunday all through the year, regardless of the weather.
Yeah.
The only thing obviously that puts us off would be the high winds.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so we're healthy. We're looking to recruit all the time.
Yeah. Where do you meet?
We meet at Newry Pool.
Newry
on
Pool Wednesday nights.
Wednesday nights.
That's the way it was at the beginning.
From
It's at
September
20 years
onwards.
ago, yeah. From September onwards.
So no, it's a fantastic club. It really is. We have the way it works is we have a monthly subscription. You have an initial joining fee and then a monthly subscription.
Yeah.
But that subscription covers every other cost, so there are no further costs. So all your gas fills, pays for the fuel for the boats.
Ah, there's the
jeeps
gang of
and
you.
stuff.
There's Paddy
Yeah.
Cousteau at the back. That's Jimmy.
And it's
Jimmy's back on the left.
John O'Hanlon in the
John
middle. At the back
O'Hanlon's
there
in
is
the
a
middle.
long-standing member.
He is, of course. Yeah, Jerry Brown is there.
Yeah.
Who else do I recognise? I don't recognise anybody.
Peter McCamley at the front.
Yes, yes. And what about women? They come to it as well.
Yeah.
There's, yeah.
We have a well,
Four
women at the
women,
minute.
yeah.
4 female divers.
Yeah, and it's we've had more in the past, but it'd be good to recruit to get some more women into the ranks as well. That would be fantastic. It is an absolutely terrific. It's a fantastic sport.
Yeah,
It really
I
is.
know this thing. I know this thing. It's also a thing which, on occasions, allows you to be altruistic and to display humanitarian characteristics, because there are situations, certainly in the old days, when we would have been called to assist in the canal with the recovery of unfortunate people who had lost their lives there, and it was always a joy to be able to do that and to bring people back to their families, albeit at the other side of life. you
Sure.
know. But I
Well,
mean,
we still do that. We
would
still
still-
do search and rescue if we're called upon. We'll go out and
Yeah.
take part in searching. If
that
somebody's
seems to be
lost at
happening
sea.
less and less. Has the police still got an underwater search and rescue team?
They
I
do.
heard somewhere they do.
They do, yes.
Well, that's good. I'd
They
heard
didn't
it.
for a while, but now
Yeah.
I think probably with health and safety and legislation, it's more a commercial operation these days. And
Yeah.
the first protocol are the experts, the police.
Yeah.
Would be
So that's the thing.
when
Got
they're
it
looking
with
for
it is.
volunteers.
When we did it at the beginning, they got grappling hooks and ropes through them and pulled people. It was appalling altogether. So it's a joy to be talking to you guys. People, how do they contact you? And a good swim. Do you need to be? You're starting with no diving experience. Anyone wants to join you, but it's a competence in swimming.
Really, people should be able to complete a length of the pool, so 25-meter pool. But beyond that, there's no real skills required. Everything else is
You're taught.
taught. Yeah,
Taught from
and
there
it's all taught in the pool in a nice, safe, warm environment.
Yeah.
Where the skills can be learned
Yeah, and
prior to going into this.
And a good social environment over the winter time. You're all there together.
Yes,
Lots
it
of
is.
laughter. That's what I remember
Yeah,
about the
it
diving
is.
club. Laughter and fun and a bit of
That's
crack.
still there.
It's still there. Yeah.
And it's an all year round. We're not limited to the summer. We dive all year.
Yeah.
So even in the depths of winter, the water is surprisingly warm. It's actually warmer in the sea than it is on the land
Oh, it is.
in
I
the
know
winter.
this thing.
and
I know this thing.
Yeah.
And I think Jimmy Lyons and I think we are the living proof that being compressed under the sea in our diving days does us no harm at the age of
None at all.
70. So we can
Still
still
looking well
exist.
for it.
Yes.
We're looking all right. We're
Yeah.
keeping going.
Yes.
Lads, thank you for coming in. Sean's
thank
going to
you.
play us some music now, and we hope you enjoy this. But thank you. That's the Newry Sub-Aqua Club and
It is
more.
indeed. Yeah.
Newry, so look out for them.
NewrySubAquaClub.com.
.com. NewrySubAquaClub.com.